Morning, St. Andrew's Youth Ministry family. Jonathon here. I'm excited to walk us through just another morning devotional this morning to help us kind of get our minds right and set. Today we're going to be walking through Philippians 4, verses 4 through 9. And I just think these words of Paul have some deep truth in it that we need to hear right now. So Philippians 4, verses 4 through 9. If you have a Bible, feel free to grab one and follow along. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice. Let your reasonableness be known to everyone. The Lord is at hand. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. What you have learned and received and have heard and seen in me, practice these things, and the God of peace will be with you. The God of peace will be with you. I just want to walk us through these several verses and just kind of point out what I'm processing and what I'm learning myself in all this. In verse 4, Paul says, rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice. When times are good, it's really easy to rejoice. When life is great, it's easy to praise. When things are a little bit messy and complicated, times it gets a little bit harder to rejoice. My challenge to you in this season, family, regardless of where you find yourself, whether you're in a blah stage right now, or a high stage right now, or even a bad stage right now, find reasons in your life to give thanks and rejoice. See, let your reasonableness be known to everyone. The Lord is at hand. And here's what I know, and here's what I love, that regardless of the circumstances we find ourselves, regardless of the coronavirus out there, regardless of school getting canceled, regardless of sports getting canceled, of your concert getting canceled, of hanging out with your family and your siblings, whatever it is, God is at hand. So do your best in this season. Pray and ask God, give thanks, but then ask God to show you where He's at work. Where is He at work in this season? Even if it might be harder to see God at work in this season, I promise you that God is at work in this season. We just have to look to see God at work in this season. Do not be anxious about anything. I think that just says it all for our season right now. Don't be anxious about anything. Just trust God. I know it's easy for me to say it. It's harder for me to believe it and harder for me to do it. So students, pray and help God to ask, and ask God to help you to not be anxious about anything. But in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. What Ellie and I have talked about a little bit the past week or so is the idea that in this season, we wonder if God is asking and wanting us to learn what it looks like to truly love well. What does it look like to love each other well in this season? But also, what does it look like as we practice social distancing to still love the community and those around us well? How do we love someone well when we can't give them a hug or a high five or a handshake? How do we love somebody well when we need to be 6 feet apart? How do we love somebody well when we won't necessarily see them? So my challenge to you students is this: how are you going to love well in this season? It's what Paul is talking about when he's asking us about whatever is true, honorable, just, pure, lovely, commendable, any excellence, anything worthy of praise. To think about these things is, how do we love well in this season? It's my challenge for you. How do you love well in this season? I think if we love well in this season, then it'll be easy for us to see that the God of peace is with us. The God of peace is here. The God of peace is at hand. The God of peace is in our midst. Just ask God to teach you how to love well in this season, man. Peace.